Hey guys, so it's super exciting episode today. I would say our family friend, I can put it this way, right? Maz Jobrani. Maz, thank you for thank you for coming, number one, right? And um,
Thanks for having me, man. Thank you. I'm happy you're doing this show, and I'm happy to come down and sit down and catch up with you.
Absolutely, yeah. So I want to start with a joke, and one of the best things, my wife goes to Russia, and then somebody saying, you know what, I'm gonna send you the basketball because you guys have a basketball academy, right? I'm gonna send you a basketball joke, and she's like, receiving that joke. It's actually Maz Jobrani, right? It's a joke by Maz Jobrani about our basketball academy. It's called, you guys check it out. We're gonna put it onto the description, right? It's called Russians Are Badass, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And why I want to start with that because this is actually the example of Maz as a comedian.
Hmm.
It's not about like pee pee poop. It's like a legit story,
Hmm.
and it's actually a story about the kids, and I was the witness of that thing. And when his son name is Dara, right? When something happens with your kids, right? You're
Hmm.
very like protective because it's your child. Right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
go attack right now. Everybody, we're gonna destroy right the
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
world. And the intelligence level, it's also when somebody comes up to you saying, your child is crying, and you're like, and Mas was one of the people said, you know what, my child is crying, this is the situation, what happened,
Yeah.
but I'm actually converted to something valuable to people, like I'm
Yeah.
bringing the value to community, to people. And then
Yeah.
he actually created the whole story, right, and the whole joke about that. And my first question was, how do you do that?
Well, I've been doing stand up now for about 25, 26 years. And like anything, the longer you do it, the better you get at it. You find ways to turn a story that happened to you, an experience that happened to you, into a way of presenting it in an entertaining fashion. So, yeah, that one in particular was when we came to your basketball camp, and my son was like 3. Now he's 16. So that was like 13 years ago. I just was entertained by, first of all, I loved how serious you were treating the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, which is good because they get into it too. And it's just, and as you know, it's funny too because they're listening, and then they're 3, 4. So
Yeah, the
now
kids
they're
kicked in,
now
right?
they're wrestling, and it's just funny to me. And I was like, oh my god, this is so much fun. And then when that incident happened with the sticker and Yulia coming over and saying, oh, you'll play better next time, and I thought that's so funny, and it's a good lesson to learn. But it was fodder for material. So then I go on stage and I probably tell the story on stage, or maybe I tell somebody else a story and I realize, oh, there's a joke here.
Yeah.
So some comedians sit down and write, with their, every day. I'm more someone who has an experience or an observation, and then I go, let me take this to the stage,
Really?
let me try it, let me record it on my phone while I do it, and that's how we create. Yeah.
So like it's a real world testing. So you'll test it on, let's say, a couple neighbors first, right? Or
Yeah,
maybe
not even on,
friends.
you don't do it on neighbors. It's either you're talking to some friends and you're telling the story and it clicks. You're like, oh my god, this
Yeah.
is entertaining. This is good. Or more likely, you go. So when I'm in town, because I tour a lot. So when I'm in
Hmm.
town, I go to the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory, and the Improv. Those are the 3 clubs. And sometimes you'll do 3 shows in one night, and you're trying some jokes here, try it again the next place, try it again the next place, and every time you're adjusting it, and you're listening to how the audience is receiving it. You're recording it on your phone. Now they video record a lot of this stuff, and so you'll
Gotcha.
you'll pick it up like that. So it's really, you have to test it because it's not like anything else where you can't just sit in front of a mirror and go, here's the story. Let's see if it works. It's really it has a rhythm, and you got to make sure that your rhythm and the rhythm of the audience, they're getting it. And there's sometimes you'll stumble into something. You might start telling a story and they start laughing, and you're going, oh my
So
god,
cool.
even this beginning is funny. So again, like anything else, just got to put in the time.
Yeah,
you know
absolutely. Absolutely.
I tell people, when people ask me, they go, I want to do comedy, what should I do? I go, write as much as you can and perform as much as you can.
Okay.
And I tell like young people, I go, get on stage 5, 10, 15 times a week if you can. Find places, do 3 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there, whatever you can. Just get up and keep going. And if you are trying a joke that doesn't work, don't just throw it away. Try it again in another way. Keep trying it and giving it a shot, because it may eventually one day just find its legs and you go, oh, there it is.
One of the fascinating things how you actually lead the audience into the joke, because you don't start with joke immediately, right? You're like, you showing up, hey, you guys, how you guys doing?
Yeah,
LA,
yeah,
this
sure.
and that.
Land. You want to land.
You want to, and again, I want to ask you a question. How's that all started? So when, like, the first time you say, you know what, I can make a business actually out of it. It's like a legit business. Like, it's a
Yeah.
performance entertainment business.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
tour and you sell tickets. You know your audience, right? You know it's getting like a little bit more audience on this city, right? I need to
Yeah.
go that city more.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about like when you
Yeah,
really
I think it's you know, you have to be creative. You gotta write as much as you can, get on stage as much as you can, but you also gotta have a business mind and hustle, right? Because early on when I first started, I started in Los Angeles in 1998, and when you first start, nobody's gonna book you to do a show. Why? Because you don't have a name for anybody to come buy a ticket. Nobody wants to come see you. So the places you get to perform when you first start are either open mics. And the way an open mic would work is, for example, I remember there was a coffee shop and they had an open mic night. And you would go there and it was comedy, music, poetry, whatever. And you would pay something like $5. They would give you like
you would pay for performance.
I would pay $5.
Okay.
They would give me like a $2 or $3 coffee and 3 minutes of stage time. So you're paying to get your stage time.
Gotcha.
And the people in the audience are all performers. So they're all waiting their turn to go play the guitar or whatever. They've all paid $5 to do their thing. So we're almost an audience for each other. That's one kind of open mic night. Another kind of open mic night, you go to some places and you would you know, put your name in a hat and the guy would just draw the names. Okay, you're next, you're next. And open mic nights are something where a lot of times bars and restaurants on their off nights, on a Tuesday night, on a Wednesday night, when they don't have that many people coming, they'll find a comedian who's got a little more, he's a little more established, he or she, and then they say, you know, give me your Wednesday night, give me that room in the back. I want to do an open mic night.
Gotcha.
And that's how you do it. So so that's one kind, that's open mic. Then you have what's called a bringer show. A bringer show
No
is,
idea what's that.
I book you, and I say, Igor, I'm going to book you to do 5 minutes on my show, but you have to bring 3 audience members. Bringer. So if there's 10 comedians and we each bring 3, we'll have 30 audience members.
Okay.
And the way that works, usually they'll say, you know, if you're committing to bringing 3 people, so you'll find your coworker and your wife and somebody else, or and if you show up and you didn't bring anybody, then the booker might say, well, I'm not going to put you up tonight, you know, but you come back, bring somebody. So one of the first shows I ever did, actually, there was a strip club called Fantasy Island in West LA, and they had a room in the front, and this guy had gotten the room for a bringer show, like doing stand-up comedy. So in the main room, people are, you know, girls are stripping and guys are paying them to strip. In the back room, he put together a comedy show, and he told me, that was the first time I ever got paid. He goes, by the way, I'm booking you, and I will pay $5 per every person you bring. You make $5. I was like, okay. And then I did the show, and back then, this is again late 90s. Being in LA, I had found a group of friends, and there's a big Persian community here. So I had kind of told a few, I said, guys, show up. I'm thinking to myself, maybe 10 of them will show up and make $50. Well, I remember that day, 31 showed up.
Yo.
And they were all lined up. They're all curious to see this. So I made $155 right out the gate.
Wow.
But the show itself was kind of a disaster, because I show up and the guy who was booking it is like, oh, you know, unfortunately, the previous owners of the strip club, they sold the club to another owner, and they took the microphone. I go, why would you take the microphone? That's very random. And he's like, yeah, they took the microphone. I'm like, all right. And then he goes, well, we're just going to do the show, but you just have to like project. So now we're there.
So
and because I brought so many people, this is the other thing. When you have a bringer show, the people who bring 3 people are going to go earlier. The person who brings a lot of people is going to go last, because they want your friends to stay. And we're all amateurs, right? So I had 31 people show up. watch an amateur comedy show, and when you go to an amateur comedy show, it can get cringeworthy. You're like, like that's not that good. At one point, there was one comedian performing, and some guy came in with a girl, like he came in to like get a lap dance or something in this room, and he was kind of like a gang looking, like he looked like a gangbanger. And this comedian's on stage, he's like, "Sir, I'm trying to perform here." He's like, "All right, just keep going, whatever." Like he kind of like threatened him almost, and we're all like, "Are we gonna get shot?" So anyway, long story short. That was one of my first paid gigs. And to this day, some of the people who came out that night, this was 25, 26 years ago, have not come to see me again because it was such a bad show. I think in their heads, they're like,
gotcha,
oh, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
So that's where you start. You take whatever you can get. I did shows in church basements, coffee shops.
It was a long journey.
A long journey.
Long journey.
But that's why you got to love it, right?
Yeah.
And so we would drive all over Southern California for a spot here, a spot there. And then eventually what starts happening is eventually like someone who's a headliner, who's already an established comedian, might say to you, "Hey, come be my opening act."
Yeah.
And opening acts don't get paid that much either. Like when you go, the clubs usually say, "Oh, you're doing 5 shows this weekend. We're going to give your opener $100 a show." So they're making $500 for the whole weekend. Mm-hmm. And they got to fly out to wherever you are. So it's not a great business at the beginning.
Yeah.
And if the headliner is fortunate enough, they'll say, "Oh, you know what? I'll pay for your flight, I'll pay for your hotel, and you make $500,
Gotcha.
or I'll add another $500, you make $1,000 for the weekend," just so you give them something.
Give something else.
So that's usually the way it goes. And then eventually, as your star grows, as people get to know you, and nowadays because of social media, you can have that happen in a much different way, in a bigger way. So if you're good at editing and posting and funny stuff, as your star rises, then clubs and agents start taking notice that, oh, Igor can sell tickets, so let's book him.
Yeah.
Let's book him. And so the way it worked for me was, I originally was part of a tour. There was the owner of the Comedy Store, Mitzi Shore. She put us together with me and some other Middle Eastern comedians, and she called it the Arabian Nights. And because this was like in the early 2000s and there was a big, the whole Osama bin Laden and all that stuff was happening. Well, so there was a group of people from the Middle East, whether they were Iranians or Arabs or whatever, who wanted to see a positive side because it was all negative. So then now there's comedians that are telling jokes from these backgrounds. And so they started coming out. We started getting support. And so then we were selling tickets. And then even when you sell tickets, a lot of clubs don't know the potential. So what you do is, for example, when I started touring solo, we told the Irvine Improv, which is one of the bigger clubs in the country and does very well, we said, "Listen, give us a Wednesday night. That's an off night. Book me for a Wednesday night and give me a door deal." So because they're like,
So
oh,
split a ticket.
yeah, usually they'll be like, "Oh, Wednesday nights, we sell 100 tickets on our just generic show.
Yeah.
So you want to try it, and we'll go whatever, 50-50 or something."
Mm-hmm.
And you show up and you sell 400 tickets. And they go, "Oh, you can sell 400 tickets on a Wednesday. All right, let's give you a weekend. Let's try it out." So then they give you a weekend. And if you do well, it just keeps going and going. And then, of course, if you do well there, the Improvs, for example, have a bunch of clubs. So they go, "Oh, let's book you in the Miami Improv and this Improv and that." So then they're trying you in other markets.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's how you grow, and you just keep growing, and you hope to have, a fan base that supports you, that will come out and watch you. And the difficulty of stand-up comedy is, it's not like music where a musician can come up with 10 songs and just play those songs for the next 30 years.
Yeah.
With stand-up comedy, you got to keep writing new material and putting it out, because if you go back a year later and you're doing the same jokes, the people that came saw you, oh, that's the same show. So they want new material. And so I've put out 7 or 8 specials now, and those are all, a new hour, and then a new hour, and then a new hour, and you got to evolve.
Yeah.
So that's where the business is. You have to you got to keep creating. You have to sell tickets. And then, of course, the hope is, as you're selling tickets and you're doing great in clubs, they might say, "Oh, you're doing so well, let's try theaters." And now you try theaters. "Oh, you're doing so well, let's try arenas." And and then you end up with, like, it was just published just last year's top grossing comedian made $84 million. Nate Bargatze made $84
Nate
million.
Bargatze.
Yeah. So
Who's
there's
that guy? Interesting.
and there's Forbes prints the list. It went from like 84 million, and I think the lowest was like 26 million. Those were the top 10 guys.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, so it can be a great business. It's just there's no guarantees. You got to work hard, and most importantly, you got to love it. I think you really got to love it, because there's a lot of times when you just like, I don't want to deal with this. You know?
I mean, listen, especially when the down times, right?
Yeah.
So, quick question about the team. So, do you have a team behind you? So, like, how many people? For example, we went to the Walter Theater, right? Last time. It was like a year ago.
Yeah.
Maz invited us to the show. So, is that involves the team? Do you need to create?
Absolutely.
material?
There's all kinds of members of the team. So you have usually, listen, some nowadays, again, given social media, some comedians don't have a team and they just go independently. Matter of fact, I was talking to a friend of mine who's in Germany doing comedy, and he said, look, I just took the 10% I was giving my agent and I gave it to a social media person. I said, you do all my social media, I'll pay you 10%. And so that's become his team. A lot of people have an agent who books the shows for you. You have a manager whose job is to keep a bigger eye on your whole career.
Are you talking about yourself right now, in general?
Myself and many have this. And then you have what's called a business manager who does all your financial stuff. And then when you tour, you either have someone from the club or you have the promoter, like Live Nation is the promoter, right?
Yeah.
So that's who comes together and puts this show together. So usually what will happen is my agent will look at our calendar and say, okay, for example, he just put together a run on the East Coast.
Okay.
So he goes, okay, we'll do New York, Boston, DC, and Atlanta.
Like the
4
big
nights.
cities, right?
Yeah, each city, 4 nights, theater in each city. Let's go do it on this such and such weekend. You do it like that. It's hectic, but you do it like that because A, you save money in traveling, and B, you're going all the way over there. You may as well knock them all out. And so he'll put it together. He'll contact the promoter, whoever's promoting it, and say, hey, he did this. He sold 1,000 tickets last time. So give us a better deal. Or he sold, he didn't sell as many tickets. Okay, we'll keep the same deal, that kind of thing. So there's a little bit of negotiation goes on, and then he comes and then he gets on the phone with us and he says to me and my manager, this is what's going on. We got these shows. Great. Let's go for it. And then it's about promoting it. And then the promoting comes to, again, social media, hopefully finding some partners that are in these cities. We just found someone in Miami to help with some upcoming Miami shows. It's about getting the word out. And nowadays, as you know, social media, the algorithms are kind of, you're chasing the algorithms always. Because it used to be I would post something and everyone who follows me sees it. Now it's not the case. Now Instagram and TikTok, they're showing it to other people, which is great if you find followers, but it's not great because you show up in a city and you go to get lunch and you run into somebody who goes, hey, what are you doing here? I'm doing shows. Why didn't I know about it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I posted it. I follow you. Well, it's not showing it to you.
That's so weird, right?
Yeah.
So questions, because you got in one body, or you got a performer and the creator.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you don't have a consistently new content, people will not gonna consume it, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not performing well, so they're not gonna come back either.
Yeah.
So basically, you need to always create, which is in my world, it's different. Like functions. Let's say if I want to create, I want to be. I'm talking about myself. I want to be quiet space, right? Just focus and just flash it out as much as possible.
Yeah.
If you want to perform, it's different. It's a loud, super loud space, right?
Yeah.
And you want to be outgoing. It's nothing about. It's like you just go.
Yeah.
Do you have a team who is creating the jokes? Is it always your
No, it's
jokes?
just me. Yeah, it's just me. So again, some people, like once you get to a level, let's say like, I don't know, Kevin Hart or some of these guys, and he's not the only one. There's a lot of them who have a budget and they got to create, they got to write a new hour. So they may have a team that either helps them with the writing, I don't know exactly, or more likely what happens is they'll say, look, I have an hour I want to do. Come sit in the back, watch it, and give me feedback, and let's improve it. So for me, a lot of it's just me going, oh, I want to do this. Let me go try it in front of the audience, and that's it. I write it. Once in a while, I will have written a joke and some other comedian will be in the back watching, and they'll come up afterwards and they'll say, you know, when you say that thing, what about if you add this? Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And more recently, there's a guy, I've done this twice now, and this guy organizes little sessions on Zoom. He's a comedian I know, and he said, hey, would you be interested in coming? So I did it just yesterday. We sit on a Zoom call. I tell them what I'm working on, and they go, oh, you could try going this way, this way, this way. And then I do 20 minutes, then the next guy does 20 minutes, I help them, then the next guy does 20 minutes. So we all collaborate just to help each other
Absolutely.
with our ideas. But in terms of the actual writing, it's us. It's not, it's not a team. It's us. It has to come from us. For me, a lot of it has to come from me for me to be able to perform it in a sincere way.
Yeah.
I've had people come up to me at a show and say, oh my God, this thing happened to me at the airport. Let me tell you, you can do it. And I go, I can't do it, because then I got to say, oh, this happened to this guy and he told me about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I got you.
I need to have it as the experience myself.
You're not going to be able to perform that much, right? On
Yeah.
a stage,
Yeah.
because you're not living through that experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The question about your personal shows. So, like, what should, like, let's say if you want to scale right now,
Yeah.
at this moment, let's make an assumption, right? What needs to be happen for yourself right now? So if you want to like 10x that show today,
Yeah. Well, 10xing that show is what you need to do is you need to have some success probably on social media. Usually it's something has to happen. I've seen this happen to friends of mine. Something's got to happen where, you know, there's friends of mine that we were working together, you know, selling a few hundred tickets in one city, a few hundred tickets in the other city. The next thing you know, they're doing arenas. What happened? Well, either you put some content out on, let's say, Netflix or somewhere, and people saw it, and that took your comedy and took it to the next level, or something on social media happened. So you
like
put
a
out
viral thing.
couple of viral videos, and then people go, oh, I love that person, you know, and then they're coming to your show because they saw that. So there's a lot of funny people out there, but there's not a lot of funny people who have gone viral. Every year or two, there's always a couple that you see, oh my God, what happened to so-and-so? Oh, geez, he hit the thing and it just took off. And they see it. And it's pretty amazing to watch, because it really changes people's lives. They go from selling 200 tickets to selling, you know, tens of hundreds of thousands of tickets. Yeah, they go from making like 100,000 in a year to making 30 million.
Wow.
I mean, it goes like that.
It's
But
like
again,
life-changing events.
Yeah,
Right?
and again, you have to put in the time. I mean, it's like, because if you had a viral video go, you know, something go viral, and then clubs want to book you, and then people show up and they don't like you, then that's a short-lived climb.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. A lot of that, even the social media related things,
Yeah.
right? It just exploded, and then it just short-lived.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you don't have a feel to put.
Well,
it
that's
in
why
there.
you have to be someone like, you know, these people that you go, oh, that's an overnight success. It's overnight success. He's been doing it for 15, 20 years. And then, you know, now it's hitting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
you kind of prepare yourself, right? You got that base, and then when it's like
you better be good is what I'm saying.
exploded, right?
Yeah,
And
you better
already-
be good. You can't have a viral video and then people show up and you're not delivering. Then that's it. You know, because by the way, when you're headlining, you need to have an hour or 45 minutes to an hour at least. And people come into a show, so you need to have another couple of comedians in the beginning who are also entertaining. So people want to come for an hour and a half to 2 hour show. They want to be entertained. But if they see you on a 2-minute clip and then they show up and the only part that you have that's funny of an hour is the 2 minutes,
2-minute clip.
you know,
Yeah, it's
that's
gonna be-
you're not going to go for it far.
Question too, because you do have a couple viral videos, like
Yeah.
it's a millions of views.
Yeah.
Did they change the trajectory of your work?
Not as much.
Show
I
or
think
not really?
no, mine. I think my my trajectory of my career changed in 2007 when I was saying that tour that had been put together in the year 2000 called the Arabian Nights. Eventually, me and two of the guys went off and we changed it to something called the Axis of Evil Comedy Tour. And we started touring with that in different cities without any help from managers or agents. And we were
Really?
selling out theaters. And then they got word, what, you're selling out. And then at that point, there was a production company, Levity, who's actually in the same building over here across the street. And they put together a comedy special, and then we ended up putting that on Comedy Central, and that changed our career. That's when we got known. We had a lot of press. People saw it. We became known for it. I had a joke I used to do about how, being Iranian, a lot of Iranians don't want to say they're Iranian, so they say they're Persian. And I said they say it because it sounds nicer and friendlier. And they go, I'm Persian, like the cat, meow. I'm very friendly, like a rug.
It's like a soft touch.
Soft, right? So that joke went viral, and it was one of those things. This is in '07, so this is back before
Social
Instagram
media,
and all that. YouTube existed, so I think people were taking that clip and they would email it to each other. Remember back in the day, somebody would email you, and there'd be like 50 other people on the email, and they'd say, watch this. So I was somehow in the middle of, like, I would get emails from people circulating it to a bunch of other people, and I was on the email list.
Gotcha.
Watch this. And I was like, oh, wow, my joke's going viral.
Uh-huh.
And to the point where to this day, people will come up and say, Persian cat, meow. And I was in Jordan, Petra, Jordan, one of the wonders of the world.
Yep.
And I'm like walking in to see this beautiful, amazing thing. And there was these young guys, and they saw me, these Jordanians. They go, hey, Maz Jobrani, Persian cat, meow. I was like, oh my God, this thing has really taken off. So that helped the trajectory of my career. That helped me become known. I was one of the earlier people from this background. I definitely from the Iranian American background. There was a guy in England named Omid Jalili, but in the Iranian American world, I was the first of our group, and so that helped. And so I was getting press. I was getting these clips were going viral, and people were coming out. And then from there, though, you got to keep. Then I put out a special on Showtime. Then I put out another Showtime special.
Okay.
Then
So
I
it was
put out
TV,
like in 2017, I had a Netflix special, and that helped as well because people that didn't know me were seeing it. And that one, I was a little more political, and so I think people that agreed with my politics were coming out, and people that didn't agree probably weren't coming out. So it's continuous viral moments. So the ones that you see that are like 3 million, 4 million views,
Yeah.
I'm sure
That's the
once in a
ones.
while some people go, oh, I want to go see this guy live, But it's not like a one for one. It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, I got 5 million views. All of a sudden, 5 million people showed up to see me.
Yeah.
That's not happening. And I did a TED Talk that went very viral. The TED Talk has like 18, 19 million views or something. And that's probably my most
What was it
viewed
about?
YouTube. I just took my stand up and I transitioned it into like a talk. So I was telling jokes about, it's basically about like, it was actually in Doha, Qatar.
Okay.
And it's about how people from the Middle East are perceived negatively and how we are not, that.
Yeah.
So
Okay. No, it's a real thing.
yeah, Russian. I mean, also all the
Same
negative
thing,
stuff. Yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing. Question about the social media right now, like today's social media. Do you put a lot of effort into the social media? Is it a lot
I put a
of
good
work?
amount. I have somebody who helps me. We were posting like one video a day, putting stories. I've been cutting a lot of my stand-up crowd work and just putting it up.
Yeah.
And so yeah, you have to be active on social media, because that's how people discover you now. That's how people discover you're on tour. And even when you think you've told people a million times, you got to tell them again.
Again, yeah. Same
It's
thing.
almost like you got to spoon feed them.
Reinforce, right?
Yeah, reinforce. At my shows, I say, guys, who's following me online? Like 10 hands go up. I go, you're my fans. Follow me. What are you guys doing? Oh, okay.
Yeah. No,
So
you're right.
you gotta hit them over the head. You're a product, right? I always say, like, everywhere you go, you would see the Coca-Cola brand. Coca-Cola spent all that money on getting that logo out. So you can be in the middle of, Africa and see a Coke thing, right? So you're a brand. You have to keep pushing that brand.
It's like the most recognizable brands in the world.
Exactly. And it's funny because, like, sometimes I'll have people, I do a radio show. There's a radio show called Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, which is on NPR. It's a weekly show where they make fun of the news from the week.
So you do it right now?
Yeah, so they have their,
I didn't know that.
They have their host and they have their co-host, and then they put a panel together of 3 comedians or journalists, and they rotate us in. So like in a year, I might do it like 5 times, 6 times,
gotcha.
right? And they tape it out of Chicago, but it's listened to by a lot of people. Like It's because with the podcast and everything, they get like 5 or 6, million listens a week.
A week. Okay.
It's a big show. But because of that, people know my name, Maz Jobrani, because it's a radio show. They don't know my face. I'm saying this, there's a group of people. So there'll be times where I'll be somewhere and I'll be giving my name and I'll say, yeah, Maz Jobrani. And then they go, oh my God, I listened to you. They know the name, you see? Or they know the voice,
face, right?
Not the face. Or they know the voice. Like I'll be talking and someone says, I'm sorry, are you Maz Jobrani? I go, yeah. Oh my God, I listened to that show.
Oh,
so
my
it's
goodness.
interesting, like you said, branding, and there's visual branding, social media, there's vocal branding, there's name recognition, right? You want to get to a point where like we all say, like anytime somebody wants to reference a comedian, I just did it a second ago, you say Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Everybody knows Kevin Hart.
Yep.
So you want your name to be at that level of recognition.
Attached to that thing, right?
Maz Jobrani. Oh yeah, I know Maz. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a brand. You're a brand. This is a brand. You got to get it out. Oh yeah, pro investing. Oh yeah, I listen to that podcast. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So hammer. Just keep it going and just keep putting it out there, because you just never know how people are going to discover you, and you also don't know what's going to go viral. Anytime you think something's going to go viral, it doesn't go viral.
It doesn't. I know. That's so weird, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh man, that looks legit. That's going to be amazing. You
No.
boom, 0 views, right?
The opposite.
And then something like, oh man, I don't feel comfortable with that content. Like,
Yeah.
boom, it's just, that's real things.
Yeah.
So we actually shooting the show in the time of the fires in Palisades, and I forgot to mention that, and it's never happened to me in like with 15 years in Los Angeles. Like on that level, the devastation is just insane.
Yeah.
And we want to send prayers to the families who lost the houses. So you guys stay strong. Quick question, right? We're going to move on. Once you get successful in your, whatever you're doing, right? In your profession, so the money starts to come in.
Right.
And that's a regular flow of the success, right? You got work ethic, you banging, and you're doing this for 20 years. Like you said, you got overnight success, and then the financial piece will catch up. Can you tell us there's anything you did with your money? There's any investing avenues, journeys, experiences?
Yeah, listen, first of all, you just mentioned the fires. It's like it's devastating to see what people are going through, and that's a place where a lot of people put their money. And I try to do the same thing. They always say buy a property. If you can, buy a property. So we did early on, with some TV money and all that other stuff, we bought one house and we lived in it for a few years. And then we moved to another house. That's when we lived. The second house was next to
You're
Kevin.
talking about Schumacher?
Yeah, the Schumacher house. But when we left that house, we kept the first house. We said, let's just keep it, investment property, rent it. So we've been renting it out all these years. And then once we moved from the second house to the third house, we had to sell the second house to move to the third house. But even that house, we just remodeled it and put money into it. So some of my finances have gone to that. So it's good. I think it's good to own homes if you can.
Yeah. It's like real estate, basically.
Real estate, right? Real estate. And then of course, I have money that I put into the stock market, and that too is like, I'm not doing day trading. I bought shares of whatever it was years ago, and most of them have gone up.
Yeah.
Apple stock. Like I was thinking about, I do this all the time. When we bought our house in 2004, the one that we now rent out, it was probably worth, I think we bought it for like $700,000 at the time. Oh wow. Right?
Good price.
And now it's probably worth like 1.4 or something, like double. Mm-hmm. This is 20 years later.
20 years.
So just because of the person that I am in my mind, I was like, wait a minute. So in order to buy that house that was $700,000, I did what's called the 80-10-10, which is 80% mortgage, 10% as your down payment, and 10% is a second mortgage. You take a second, 10%. So we borrowed. I put down 70,000 basically.
So you're saying you borrowed 10% more.
10% more to
payment,
yeah.
Right?
So basically, you put down 10% and you have 90% on the loan.
Effectively, it's like 90% leverage.
Yeah, exactly. Right? So just to do the math in my head, I was like, what would have happened if I instead of buying the house with my $70,000. If I taken either the 70,000 or let's just say I take 10,000
Yeah.
and I'd bought Apple stock in 2004. If I had bought Apple stock in 2000, if you could do the math, it's fun. It's a fun game. But like, if I bought like $10,000 worth of Apple stock in 2004, it would be worth something like $5 million.
Couple
Right now.
million. Yeah.
Just
I was about
crazy.
to say that. Yeah.
So, by the way, who knows? Who knew, right? So I think the way I try to invest in stocks is I have a my friend actually has a team, and I just said, hey, I'll just do dollar cost averaging. I'll give a couple thousand a month to add to the investments. We have we have individual stocks. Every once in a while, when I see an individual stock that I like, I'll call them up. I go, what do you think of this stock? Yeah, this, that, the other. All right, well, let's buy. And I don't buy a ton. I say, okay, let's buy whatever.
Yeah.
5,000, 10,000. Let's just hold on let's hold on to it. I'm not trying to day trade. The other thing that I do, and I credit my business manager for this, and I would recommend this to everybody, is putting money into a retirement account for sure, because that in itself, once things slow down, you're going to need to draw from that. And coming from the background that I came from, we're immigrants. We left Iran during the revolution, and my father was very wealthy at the time, and he was able to bring a lot of money to America. But because he was this businessman, his mind was, let me keep trying to do business, invest, and buy properties. And he bought a bunch of properties, and then the recession hit and he lost a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so even back then, if he had had the foresight to take 10% of his wealth and put it into a retirement fund of some sort, then he could have, even when he lost everything, he would have had some money. So I really recommend to people, if you're working at a company that matches your 401k, your Roth IRA, whatever, find a way to put money away. Because even though you think right now, oh, I don't need it, a day will come.
Yeah. I think one of the perspectives of that, what you're saying, and I talk to a lot of advisors, and they say, who is going to double your money every year for free?
Yeah.
Like with 100% certainty.
Yeah.
I'm talking about 401k.
Yeah.
When you put 10k and your employer will give you like another 10k, like it's like there's
It's a
no
no-brainer.
Like there's no brain work to that equation, right? It's not like investing and then maybe it's gonna grow. So no, it's like 100%, like double your money every year.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing, guys. Again, there's nothing better than that.
Yeah.
Nothing, zero, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing, what you're saying, so diversification, because if you will diversify, right, back then into different, maybe less risky things. Because again, all the entrepreneurship, it's risk.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And some of my friends saying, you know what, I'm focused on the business. I'm going to get to like $100 million, $1 billion, whatever the number is, right, for them. But it's always the thing, what if not?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what if not? So, and again, some people saying you got to be taking all the risk and burning the ships, but a lot of times again, so 90 probably plus % of the people will never get to that point, and they'll get nothing, right, as well at the end, because they burned through the journey, all of it, the financial resources.
Yeah, you got to look. I mean, it's when you're young and healthy, you think, oh, it's easy. I'm going to keep going at this rate, but you slow down. I mean, that's just what happens in life, and so you got to look out for that back end a little bit, I think. And also, by the way, they give you incentives, so they say if you can keep that money in the account until you're whatever 62, 63, you can withdraw it without paying taxes on the profit, that's great. That again goes to what you just said. So if I sell my stock today, I got to pay capital gains at 30% in California, because it's 20 plus whatever. So 30%. But if I can put that money into, like you said, 401k or a Roth IRA, I believe when you cash out at the end, you don't pay that tax on. So you're saving again 30%. So there's I think you got to diversify. I think you got to do what you love. Like I tell my wife, I go, one thing I do feel I did that was just serendipitous is I chose this profession of comedy at a time when comedy has continued to grow. So comedy, I think, is more popular now. If comedy were a business,
it's like the mega trend of it was growing, right?
The trend of it, and I just did it because I loved it. But I ended up in a thing where people love comedy, and social media helps comedy as well. So it's like I chose the right field to get into at that time. I could have gone and gotten into technology, which again, somebody who got into technology probably also caught a great trend. But somebody who at that time, let's say 25 years ago, said, "Oh, I want to get into long distance phone sales.
Yeah.
Well, there's no longer a thing, right?
Yeah. Like DVD rentals.
DVD rentals. I want to open up a Blockbuster.
Make it brutal, right?
Bad
So,
timing.
yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So,
you're right.
but I think, again, I didn't. I think part of it though is like really finding what you love that will inspire you, that will make you go hard. Like, I tried different things, and I just didn't have the patience to continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But
tough.
with comedy, like when I first started out, it's not like I showed up and there was 1,000 people there to see me. I would be at the Comedy Store, and they would give you, the last spot of the night. So at like 12:30, I'd go on stage in front of 4 drunk people.
12:30
Yeah,
a.m.
yeah. Or you'd be ready to go up at 12:30, and a more famous comedian would walk in and go, "I want to go up," and they'd go up in front of you, and then you'd wait till 1:30.
Push it, right?
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys who started out with me who quit because their ego didn't allow them, and they didn't have the drive to keep going.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I had the drive to keep going.
You had a passion.
I had a passion. I loved it. I loved hanging out.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it, because every profession has politics. But if you are willing to see past it, then I think you can.
You're in a good spot. though.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maz. Last question is about investing again. So, what was your worst experience of investing? So,
that's
I
funny.
love it because we had.
Well,
many...
I mean, listen, there's ups and downs with it all, right? So I'll give you a kind of I should have stuck with it kind of a thing.
Yeah.
My friend who works at Morgan Stanley, he hit me up. He goes, Facebook is going public.
Okay.
And we are helping them go public. Would you like to buy some Facebook stock? I said, sure. Let's buy $7,000. I just came up with some number. Let's buy 7,000. And it went public, and I bought it at like $35 a share. And then it went from 35 down to like 17, like half.
It went down first, yeah.
And I got so upset. I go, you know what? Screw these guys. I go, sell it. He goes, are you sure? I go, yeah, we'll carry the loss over to something else that had a gain. It's only $7,000. So now what? I've lost $3,500, whatever. All right, let's just sell it. Well, now that same stock is like whatever, 400 a share or something crazy. I should have held on to. I'm so stupid.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of that kind of stuff where I'm like, and alternatively, like with Apple, I was lucky that I don't forget when I bought the Apple, but all of a sudden, like my Apple stock, I don't know how much I bought it initially. I think I might have bought like $10,000, and it was like worth like $200,000. It was crazy. And I think to myself, people who were smart enough to put even more. I know guys who are like, yeah, I put everything into these things. But I guess the good news is, if you're, first of all, I think long-term investing, you got to keep it going.
Yeah.
Secondly, if you are fortunate enough to start making that money, then you at some point can say, I need to sell something, but I will use those losses to cancel off the sell, right? Like for example, I invested one time, like this guy had a technology idea, and my friend who'd done well in investments, he goes, you want to help invest in this guy's technology? And I was like, look, I can do $25,000. Let's just put that. And my hope was that the company would take off and it would turn into tenfold. Well, the company never took off after several years. So I lost $25,000. But again, I was able to use that to, it's a loss when you pay your taxes.
Offset, yeah.
You offset. So hopefully you get to a point where you can do that. And I was telling somebody, I go, that's why rich people stay rich, because even if they gamble and they lose, they just write it. They write it off.
There's a lot of different horses as well, right?
Yeah.
They can lose here, but
win
10 times on that side.
Yeah.
Right?
So I don't have the gambling mentality where I'm waking up every day and going like, let's buy 100,000 of this. I'm just do little here, little there, and hopefully eventually you have enough where, like you said, when you retire, you can not sweat it when you want to buy eggs from the grocery store.
Yeah, I think I just want to double down on whatever you said right now. And there's a couple ideas. One is, the older we get, right, the less energy and focus and emotions you want to put into the certain things, right? And this is another diversification. It's diversification of your energy, right, output.
Your efforts, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't need to work for that stock, right? You just need to wait.
Yeah.
Now you might have time, but not effort, right?
Yeah.
And it's still working for you. That's one. And the second one is, I think the idea of the humans connected emotionally to the money. It's like attachment, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if you walk into the store, and this is not my idea, it's like from, I don't know, from YouTube, let's say. Yeah, when you walk in the store and it says 50% discount, you usually buy that thing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to stock market, you like, oh man, I lost it, and you usually sell it, which is counterintuitive if you think about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what you should be doing, you're like, oh, I'm gonna double down. Let's put another 14K
Yeah.
into that
Yeah.
Facebook thing, and
Yeah.
right, but it's very hard to do. Why? Because
Yeah.
it's emotional.
Yeah.
Like it's emotion.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is what's going on in your brain a lot
absolutely.
of times. And that's thank you for sharing that. It's amazing. Maz, I think we're about at time, right, to cut off the show. What is the general message? Because I love talking to you because you're a positive person.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
This is my conscious decision of the life. I want to hang out, talk, interview, work, right? Do business with the positive people. If we lost money, who cares? Like, right?
Move on.
They would have just, we were bouncing good energy and blah, blah, blah. It didn't happen, whatever.
Yeah.
So can you send a general message?
My general message to people is find your passion and try and turn that into something. They say my vocation is my vacation, right? So
can you say it again?
My vocation is my vacation.
Okay.
Meaning, like, when I'm doing comedy, I'm enjoying it. It's my vacation. I like it. I told somebody I have not had a time when I was driving to go do a show, or I was on my way to a show and I was like, oh God,
I got to do that, right?
But before I started comedy, I used to work at an office. I was just an assistant in an advertising agency. And there were many mornings when I was driving there going like, oh, I don't want to be going to work today. And like, just like watching the clock, waiting for it to finish. Versus I like, I love being on stage. So find what
next?
you love.
What we're going to do, what I'm going to create, what next joke, right?
Yeah, and also I love just being on stage. I love the audience. I love every aspect of it. I really, really enjoy it. It's exciting. And so find what it is that you love. Find what it is that you're good at, strong at. The other thing I realize is I'm very comfortable on stage. I love being on stage. I probably have some attention deficit disorder going on because because I'm not good in like meetings. I don't pay attention as much. But when I'm engaged in a conversation or if I'm on a stage, I have to pay attention.
It's all in, right?
It's all in, and I'm in, boom, and then now I'm done. So that's where my strength is, right? So I leaned into my strength and I'm alive on stage. Find where it is that you're alive on, like where you feel alive.
Gotcha. Last thing, Maz, where people can follow you, right, and follow your passion.
I'm all over social media. I'm at Maz Jobrani on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I'm not as active anymore, but I'm there. YouTube, I have a bunch of clips. I have a comedy special on YouTube called The Birds and the Bees. People can watch it for free. And then I have my Netflix special called Immigrant. So I'm everywhere. Just at Maz Jobrani. You find me. MazJobrani.
And what are you working on something special right now? Is it coming up?
Just constantly touring. I'm all over. So if people are listening to this in the US and Canada, I'm always touring.
Always touring, right? You guys check out the schedule for a tour, right? Maz is all over the place.
Yeah.
he's gonna come and find you.
Yeah, and that's my website, mazjobrani.com. I post it. Come see a live show. I think live shows, people that come to live shows, 99.9% of the time, they leave going, wow, that was so much fun, because we do crowd work. We're there. We have our jokes. It's different than seeing it online. And it's a fun date night.
Yeah. Thank you for coming.
All right.
See you guys then, right? You guys stay tuned. Again, Maz, always pleasure, right? Thank you for coming on the show. Good luck with
you. Es posible. Right?
Spasibo.
Es posible. Es posible.
Good. See you guys next time. Checking out.
Bye, guys.
Yoo-hoo.